This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
It is amazing how different you can feel after, 7 days here in Leafs Nation. Hello and welcome to the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take. It's Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill. Don't forget to remember to subscribe, smash that like button, visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest. But Rosie, I witnessed your tweets on the weekend. You were juiced up. You were ready to go. How are you feeling on this Monday?
I'm feeling good, buddy. What's not to feel good about right now? Leafs showed up and played a different game. They mixed up the lineup to what I think it should have been in the first place, and I think they had a big team win on the weekend against a bit of a rival that's become out of the bubble lockout season with the Winnipeg Jets. So nothing to not smile about right now.
Do you think they're watching the show? They're piping it into the Leafs dressing room? Because I think everything we discussed following that game against Dallas happened on the weekend, right? Where they put the fourth line in, and we'll talk about that. But they're making some subtle tweaks and certainly looking at their depth a bit more, no?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the boys upstairs are just putting our show on a loop and just doing everything we say because we've been bang on, and they'd be stupid not to.
Good point. With that in mind, Rosie, let's get over the boards.
That's great.
Yes, sir. John Tavares, as you see right there, 2 goals for the captain on Saturday. I thought it was one of the most complete efforts, if not the most complete effort of the season for the Maple Leafs from puck drop to the final buzzer. So 2 goals for Tavares, now 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. Is John Tavares underappreciated more so because of the market he plays in, Rosie?
I would think so. I mean, every single player on that team, the team in general, they just get roasted when they like day to day. And we've seen that last week from a 2-day swing from the sky is falling to hallelujah. And that market is so famous for building statues one day and then tearing the organization down to the foundation the next week. It's tough that way. But yeah, I think Johnny T, like, his leadership qualities, like what he does in the locker room, and like almost to a fault. Like I want to groan when he's doing an interview because it's just so professional and there's nothing exciting. It's just like change the channel when he's giving an interview because it's just all the token shit that he says. But
Yeah.
I believe that that's how he thinks and that's how he operates. And if you think that team's going to start to get off the rails and guys are going to start getting clicks going and being selfish on that, and the PP is going to have a little secret meeting where we're going to do something opposite than what the video showed this morning, that shit just isn't going to fly in front of Johnny T. And then on the ice, I mean, he's getting it done. I just think he's super reliable in and around that net. He's just deadly. And he's been getting the chances, especially on the PP right now. And he's been getting it done. So yeah, I mean, if people are knocking him for his salary or his age, which is only like 31, 32, then absolutely he's underappreciated. I'd take him on my team all day.
Yeah, knock it off. He's our captain, John Tavares, captain, my captain. Again, if you want to get interactive on the chat, by the way, pipe in. We'll get to your comments and concerns, maybe even your questions later on, how you view this game coming up against the Vegas Golden Knights, game 2 of a 5-game road trip tonight. But certainly echoing your sentiments, Rosie, on John Tavares, I just think he has been from day one the perfect shill, if you will, in the media for the likes of Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Riley to sort of do their thing. Like, he just knows exceptionally well. He's been media trained from a young age. I remember even covering him back in the day. He had like a half season with the London Knights when he was traded from the Oshawa Generals. And I sort of have prided myself over the years of being able to extract good quotes and good clips out of players, no matter who they are. But there's 2 guys who I just couldn't get any juice out of. Number 1 is Connor McDavid, surprise, surprise. And number 2 is John Tavares. Just an absolute professional, but you're not really going to get that quote if you're looking for one, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt. That's just how he is, man. He's straight and narrow, and he's not going to give you anything to feed off. Like you say, he's been trained, and I just think it's in his personality too. I don't think he's the most exciting off the wall guy that there is by any stretch, from what I can tell. And he just seems to play that way and carry himself that way, and he's a good pick for the captain, as he's been showing this year.
Even keel, like, you like that out of your players, right? Like, I think if you wanted to put together a roster, you need multiple John Tavareses on it, where he just doesn't get It seems like a lot of it doesn't get to him, right? Like, I think certainly you look at the criticisms of last season, specifically in the Stanley Cup playoffs, needed to be quicker. I think he addressed that to a degree in the offseason. He's never been a guy who's really made his game off foot speed. It's more calculation on his type. But I've been really, really impressed. I know it's early on in the season, but John Tavares, for me, has exceeded expectations. And it's a wonderful, wonderful sight for Maple Leafs fans. He was awesome. I thought it was vintage Tavares on Saturday. Just those two finishes in tight. He's one of the best tippers for my money in this league as well. Let's move on to something we talked about big time on Friday's show after we both felt that the Dallas Stars were running around rampant on Thursday. And that's the fourth line juice, as you see right there. Clifford, Kampf, and Simmons come in. All they do is dictate the pace from a physical standpoint. I know they took a couple of bad penalties in the form of Clifford in the ozone in the first period, Simmons in the third period, but they led actually to the game-winning goal. What a pass by Simmons, and it's David Kampf, his second of the season. I thought they brought some serious jam on Saturday night, Rosie.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I've been begging for a lineup change. It doesn't seem like it's a well-rounded roster without those guys. Like the fourth line that they have had going, just I haven't even seen them. They just haven't produced anything. So my question was, what do they bring to the table? And then you inject, Wayne Simmons. I've been saying all year since he got put on waivers, like how can he not play on this fourth line? That's insane. He's 1,000 game a year guy. He's been playing on first lines throughout his career. He can do it all. I I just cannot see how he can't play on this fourth line. And then they bring him up and he shows that he can. And what I saw more than like that nice pass, which is what he can do. He can chip in offensively, and you got Camp in there to be disciplined defensively. It's just a much more well-rounded lineup, and his energy and his presence just reverberated through the lineup. I mean, that game was the most team game that we have played. Every guy was playing with intensity, with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, someone takes a run at Nicky Bobby there, and who's the first guy in there with his gloves are spring loaded, and Morgan Riley, our stud defenseman, jumps a guy. Then you got our defenseman running guys, and then everyone's coming to his defense when some guy gets knocked over and anyone comes near, and it was just a whole team atmosphere where everyone's playing together. Everyone's playing with a little bit more emotion and high intensity. And it's because you bring those guys in. It's not about fighting. It's not about, oh, you hit my guy, now I'm going to fight you. That's that one-dimensional stuff from 2005 that doesn't need to be there anymore and isn't there anymore. And now you got guys that can play a little bit and inject that kind of energy into the team. I thought it was palpable. You could see it on the TV, how much energy these guys were playing. Guys were playing bigger, and I think it sends a message to a guy like Pierre Engvall, who, hey man, you're going to have to play more physical. You're going to have to do more out there, and you're going to be in the press box. And I know that was a bit of a shock to him, but a guy like him with his big body, you can't just go and look at the other team and, hey buddy, how's it going? Oh, look it over there. Yeah, how was your summer? Good stuff. Good luck out there tonight. Like, that bullshit doesn't fly. You're trying to win a Stanley Cup. This is the NHL, and I want to play with a chip on your shoulder. I want to play like we did in Winnipeg. And if you want to go back, look at Darcy Tucker. Like, it's free to play that way. You don't have to be gifted with God's talent. You don't have to go end to end and diddle the D-man and toe drag backhand top titty like that. You don't have to do that. You can just work as hard as you possibly can, play with intensity, play with a chip on your shoulder, hate the other team, unload the tank every shift. That's free to do. And it wins hockey games. And I love that fourth line came in there and injected that, and they had the most convincing win of the whole season.
Something tells me you're a nickname guy in the locker room. Like, did you have a nickname for every guy you played with?
Oh yeah, they got ridiculous where it was a nickname of a nickname of a nickname, and Tyler Bozak named me Rose Dozer, and then it was Dozer, and now it's just Doze. And like, my buddies at home, when I'm hang out with a guy that I used to play with, they're like, "What's up, Doze?" And my guys that I grew up with are like, "What is that all about?" But yeah, it's fun to go outrageous with the nicknames.
Nicky Bobby, is that your nickname for Nick Robertson at this point?
I think so. It works, man.
It's either that or Sammy Samsonov. That's your guy. That nickname for Sammy Samsonov. That is something special with
Sammy
Ilya
boy,
Samsonov. Yes, and
I like
Sammy
it.
Boy too. By the way, it looks like Pierre Engvall is going to come back into the lineup, and your guy Zach Aston Reese, who, to your point, just haven't seen enough juice from the bottom six, right? And I do think these pieces ultimately are interchangeable because you know what you're getting for the most part from the top six. Maybe they make an addition down the stretch of the trade deadline. It's the bottom six that ultimately you need that one or two goals for when it matters in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right?
Yeah, big time. And like you say, the top six are kind of set, and they are what they are, and they're fantastic. Any roster would take that top six.
Yeah.
But it's that depth and those guys that need to chip in. And I just think Wayne Simmons should be an absolute staple on that line, and then you can interchange Kyle Clifford with some different guys and get some mojo going depending on what you need. But I love being able to have the freedom to make some changes depending on who you're playing, how the team's been playing, what you need. And right now it's nice that they have that ability to do so. And when you get a fourth line that can chip in offensively and I mean get a game winner here and there and make a play, I mean that's just huge because it takes the pressure off your stars. That's the teams that are winning in the playoffs, and it's nice that they've kind of found that for one game, but it definitely just looks like a more well-rounded forward core for sure.
And so it's the Maple Leafs and the Golden Knights from T-Mobile Arena on this Monday night, game two of a 5-game road trip. Phil Kessel, remember him? Yeah, your old teammate will tie Keith Yando's Ironman record of 989 consecutive games. A, how shocked are you at that number? And B, what was it like to play with Phil Kessel, Rosie?
Big Phil. Oh, Phil, man, he's a character. He's a great guy. I like that guy. It's just incredible that he has played that many games in a row with that body. I mean, he'll be the first one to say that I've got a milk bag up top, and then he's got two little pins for sticks for legs, and it's just there's no reason that he can generate that kind of speed and agility on the ice with that body. And I think he'll be the first one to say that. But he's a character, man. He's always dragging his feet and this and that and moaning and groaning about things. And quietly just he's going to put up 1,000 game Ironman streak. It's pretty incredible, and good for him, man, because you got to be tough and you got to play through some things, and you got to stay in the lineup when maybe another guy might actually take a night off and sit out. So good for him. That's a hell of a record that he's going for tonight, and I think he's going to keep going to 1,000 most likely.
Doing what you did, I think you can be the first to attest that that's a tough record. I don't care if you're Phil Kessel. I don't care if you're Tom Wilson. To be able to play 989 straight games is really, really damn impressive. Even if it's in the NHL, the modern day NHL, where there's not as much physicality and hitting, I think it's a tremendous feat. And I think he deserves a lot of respect, not to mention like the body of work. Like he's had a pretty solid career, signs with the Vegas Golden Knights in the offseason. It's been a slow start offensively, but he's still getting a significant look here in the top six for Vegas. They're going to be a tough opponent. I'm looking forward to seeing Bruce Cassidy behind the Golden Knights bench, and I will get the coffee pot started early tonight here on the East Coast. It's going to be a late one, Rosie.
Yeah, no kidding. I feel for you guys out there. You're used to watching this team whenever you want at your normal convenient time, but that'll be a late one, all right. But yeah, a tough opponent coming in. It's going to be a good test. I think it's going to be their biggest test on this road trip. So you get a win tonight. That's big, but they're coming off a loss. But to the Colorado Avalanche, Leafs are
Yeah.
flying pretty high. I mean, I'm glad that we're facing them right off the bat to try to start this road trip off on a high note, and then you kind of go down the West Coast there and pick up some California teams, and it's a nice little test for them to get out of Toronto and get on the road and see how this team operates on the road, because they started off well with Winnipeg, but it's far from done, obviously.
How much does it help from a team camaraderie standpoint? Like they've been through a lot the first 5 games of the season. It seems like it's been like 2 months long, but it's been like 3 weeks. Does it help to have that early season road trip, especially when you go to a city like Vegas? I don't know what you can do there. I've never been. No, I've been like 7 times. Is this good for team building?
Yeah, it's huge. Like I was thinking to myself, man, I'd love to be on that jet after the Winnipeg game, because you got a day off and you're flying down, you're getting to the hotel, you're probably having a few drinks on the plane, playing some cards, having a big meal catered to you. All the guys are just buzzing because, like I said, a huge team win there. Everyone kind of found something. Your most decisive win of the whole season. So you get down there, you get in the hotel together. Everyone drops off their bags after the morning practice, and you head out for lunch, you head out for supper. Guys are playing cards in the room, and you're kind of starting to get to know each other. That's when nicknames start to form, and guys are buddying up with their roommates, and it's just a great time for a team to start gelling, where you don't do that at home as much. You got to go home and you got to get to your kids' hockey, and you got to pick your kid up from this or that, and your wife wants to do that, and you're doing family stuff. It's kind of a lot more individual when you're at home, but you get on those road trips and there's no one around and there's nothing to do but be with the boys. So that's great for team building, and I think it's a great time for them to get on the road and do some of that. And obviously they started off really well with Winnipeg, so you got good vibes starting off the whole thing.
Believe it or not, the Vegas flu hasn't been a thing for the Leafs. In 8 all-time meetings with the Golden Knights, they've won 6 of 8, including both meetings last season. The other thing I'm curious to see tonight is the goaltending matchup. Your guy, Ilya Samsonov, we talked about it, has been off to an unbelievable start, 4-0-0 in his first 4 appearances, hasn't surrendered more than 2 goals in a game. I probably jinxed it right there, but Logan Thompson's on the other side. It's hard to believe both guys are the age of 25, but one's a rookie, and it's Thompson. I expect a low-scoring affair tonight. Do you?
Yeah, very possible. I mean, both capable goalies, and like we said, Sammy's flying high right now. But they haven't had that Vegas flu. Hopefully, the guys weren't out till 5, 6 in the morning in Vegas. I don't think that's a
Never
problem. It's not
know.
like the old East Coast Hockey League days where they had a team there. Man, their home record was outstanding for the Vegas team. But
Shocker.
I don't. I know exactly, but I don't think it's going to be that way in this league. But yeah, like you say, both capable goalies, and I just want them to pick up where they left off with playing with some jam, playing together, and chip on their shoulder, and everyone standing up for each other, and that just breeds energy. So I'm looking for them to pick up right where they left off.
You got a favorite spot in Vegas, Rosie?
I'm not a huge Vegas guy. I've been there a few times.
Really?
I saw Avicii at Aria one
Okay.
time. That was kind of cool since he was I didn't know too much about him at the time, but saw his documentary after. I'm like, man, this guy's a rare talent and kind of a sad story. But I think it's
Yeah.
pretty hard to miss in Vegas. If you want to go have a good time, you're not going to have to go far.
A can't miss spot for me in Vegas, and again, I've been way too many times, and I'm just 33. But Chandelier Bar at Cosmo is incredible. They have a
It's a
secret
spot.
drink. You go there, you order this secret drink, dude. It just sets your vibe for the whole night. It's nothing illegal. It's just called the secret drink. But most people who frequent Vegas quite a bit, they know what the Chandelier Bar is, and it's simply tremendous. So that's my must-hit spot on the Vegas Strip. But I do think to that point, like the mystique is wearing off to a degree. I think, especially if you're in the NHL, even if you're the broadcast crew, you've rolled through Vegas a couple times now. It's not like the first level of excitement the first time around where you're like, wow, I'm going to Vegas to cover an NHL game. Like I was there for the Stanley Cup final a couple years back when they played the Washington Capitals, and it was more like, what do I tackle first? Whereas like I've been multiple times, since for work, and it hasn't been sort of the same mystique as it was early on. It's going to wear off eventually, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I'm going there in January with some buddies, and we're gonna go there,
Yeah.
play some golf, and have a time or whatever. But I just not my favorite thing where every guy and their dog is there acting like they're God's gift to humanity, cruising around like
Yeah.
just douchebag central for the most part for me, which kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. I think I'm a bit of a small town boy still, but
Yeah.
like I said, there's no shortage of fun, and if you want to have a good time, that's obviously the spot. But I think that everyone's ran through that town a couple of times now in this league, and it's just another stop, because every NHL city you want to go find some fun, it's not hard to do, right?
I would pay good money to watch you pump the fucking wheels off somebody, like a high roller in Vegas who's just giving you lip when they're bombed or something, and you just pump them 1, 2, 3, see you later.
You'll probably see me just laid out cold on the strip by some kickboxer. I stay away from that shit for that reason.
Yeah, you never know. Street fights are dangerous, man. They're absolutely dangerous. With that,
They're brutal.
it's time to get to the wrap up here, Rosie, brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. There we go. All right.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, there you go. You should have just made the sound effect. And thanks to Alex. The guy's an absolute stud. I don't want to get stale with this pick. I'm not going to do this every game, but I referenced to you off air. I'm going to say it on air now. At plus money, how do you not dabble in some Austin Matthews anytime goal? Number one, he had 60 goals in 73 last year. Number two, he's been really, really quiet. A goal in 6 games to start his season. His shooting percentage is around 3%. That's not going to stay. We just know for a fact Austin Matthews is going to start sniping and sniping a lot. And then on top of that, I always like to bring a bit of statistics your way, Rosie. 8 goals in 7 career games against the Vegas Golden Knights. So I'm going to double down tonight. I know it took a last week, didn't hit. Austin Matthews will score tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we've said it before, like you said, you've had that pick before, but he's
Yeah,
always been minus money. He's always been the favorite to score goals for good reason. He's one of the best goal scorers in the world, and he's in a bit of a, call it a slump if you want, but it's only a matter
sure.
of time before he scores. And every game that he doesn't score, it becomes more and more likely that he will the next game. So to have plus money for him to go into Vegas right now, why not ride that again? Because every time it misses, it's kind of an anomaly at this point where he's only got one all season long. So with plus money, you're not going to see that. I don't think as soon as he gets one and gets this monkey off his back, I don't think you're going to see him at plus money again for probably the rest of the year.
And that's why we're riding on that tonight. So Austin Matthews, anytime goal, you're going to get it around plus 105 right now on PointsBet Canada. So make sure to go hit that bet as quick as possible. Again, as we move forward, it's the Leafs and Golden Knights from T-Mobile Arena. If you want to chime in with your thoughts, your concerns, your questions right now, now's the time, or forever hold your peace. I was going to ask you too, as somebody who played in this league, Rosie, oftentimes it's tough for the casual media member or fan to humanize the situation. What's time travel like, and time zones and traveling in general? We talked about a 5-game road trip, how it's good for the camaraderie of a team, but more specifically, how draining is it on it, even though, you guys are pro athletes and playing the game and preparing yourselves on a daily basis to play this game. How draining is it?
Um, I think it's a little bit overhyped and overplayed because I didn't really pay attention to the time zone that you're on. You just go off of what you're getting for rest. So you pull into town at 2 in the morning at some place. It doesn't matter what time it is. You go to your hotel bed at the Ritz Carlton and you put those blackout shades on, and that team's going to give you as many hours as you need to rest. So they understand and they kind of do the work for you. There's food everywhere. There's recovery things everywhere. There's masseuses, and some teams got guys coming to your hotel room to rub your legs down and get the acid out, blah blah blah, that you're treated like
Oh,
a
I don't know where
complete
this
baby
story's
there, right?
going. I don't know
So
where that story's going. Rub you down pregame.
yeah, stay away, stay away. There's uh there's no lack of team management taking care of your guys, giving you the rest you need. So yeah, you pull into town, but you're getting off a private jet with like reclining first class seats. You get pulled up to the Ritz Carlton, you eat a filet mignon. It's not that
Yeah,
crazy. If you're on, it's a hell of a lot harder being in the American Hockey League and you're riding some old sleeper bus where you can feel the cold coming through the windows and you're in a sleeping bag and the thing's bouncing down the highway and you're getting in at
yeah.
3 in the morning and you got to play at 11 a.m. the next morning. Like that's what wears on a guy. You're treated like a baby in the NHL. And if you're getting worn out by it, I mean, do something different because they give you time to get your rest and get your sleep, and you're treated really well. So especially at this point in the season, I just don't see that as a factor at all.
The only reason why I bring it up, because it's often used as sort of an excuse in this game, right? In professional sports in general. Oh, it was a back-to-back. Oh, they had to travel 2.5 hours. They got in at 4 a.m. I just wanted to lean on you because, again, you have that history and that credit to your name where you've been sort of through the rigors of traveling. But it's a fair point. It's not like the everyday person would have access to this type of stuff, right?
Well, do you ever hear the players or the coaches saying those things? They don't.
No.
It's always the media members and some guy covering the game that says, "Wow, they're gonna be tired and they're gonna be banged up." But when you're a pro and they're in the shape that they're in, I remember playing like 3-and-3s in the American League in that Sunday afternoon game, and you fought 4 times already that weekend. It doesn't matter once you get your warm up in and get your gear on and you get on the ice. It doesn't really matter what time zone you're in. It doesn't matter what time you got home last night. You're just the intensity and the adrenaline kind of kicks in, and you just play your game. Maybe afterwards, are you a little bit more tired? Do you have a deeper sleep? Yeah. But like I said, these guys have been doing that their whole life. And I just don't see that as an excuse. And I don't know, you want to start crunching some big time numbers. I don't think you're going to find a real strong correlation between wins and losses and being at home and being in this time zone and coming off a plane at this hour and all that shit. I think that's kind of that's all it is an excuse, and it's a built-in excuse to not give your best game that night. So I think that's why the players and management really stay away from that excuse.
You won't see stats guy Rosie anytime soon, is pretty much what Rosie is trying to tell you right now. Do you have a record? You mentioned those 3-game sets in the American Hockey League. Do you have a record as to how many fights total you had in like a 3-game set weekend? Is it 4?
Um, Probably close to 4. I think when I made the Maple Leafs out of training camp in the exhibition,
Dude, you were
someone
fighting
had
everybody when you
tweeted it.
joined the Leafs.
Yeah, I think for that exhibition, we played a ton of exhibitions that year. I think I fought like 5 times in 7 nights or something like that. But
Holy
things get
fuck.
crazy down there. Like I had 3 fights in one game one time, and it wasn't like I was even
That's
being
your
a
hat
moron.
trick.
Yeah, exactly. You get punted after that too, so I got the rest of the night off. But I crushed a guy with his head down. So then I got jumped by somebody, so that was a fight. Then their tough guy came after me the next couple of shifts and said, "Hey, we're going because you killed that guy." I was like, "Okay." So then another fight, and then that guy I hit in the third period gives me a whack and says, "Hey, we're going," and he wants to prove a point. So then away we go, and that was 3 for me. And another time that my dad, I think, called down to my phone in the locker room and said, "What the hell is going on down there?" But yeah, things get pretty Western in the American League.
Do players look at their phones like between periods? Like, is there rules with that?
I was thinking about that the other day. It's
They
incredible
must.
you can go and just check it, but it's not in your stall in the locker room. It's in
Okay.
your clothes changing. You got a street clothes locker room with
That
stalls in
area.
there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a guy might go and just check something, and then he just looks and then chucks his phone back in that thing. But no one's walking around with their phones. Maybe if a guy's getting like a half-hour stim treatment in the training room, you're sitting there dicking around on your phone checking out some stats and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
Yeah.
incredible when you get 20-something year olds in a room, and just how little the phone is around. You're just hanging out, and then you're back into the
Good.
normal world when you leave the building. And it's kind of impressive, because I was thinking the other day, I'm like, I don't think you could ever see that for a couple of hours with some younger guys, especially this generation, like parking their phone for that amount of time. It's team time, and you're actually just doing your thing inside that building.
Yeah, I always wondered about that, but that makes sense in terms of a team philosophy. You put your phones away and you're looking to win that game. I just could only imagine, like, let's say you're up 6-1, second intermission, you got a young hotshot flipping away on Tinder trying to look for his match for the night, right? Like, that just is ultimately where my mind goes to right away. I just think it's so interesting, even to the point of, I'm sure you remember high school to a degree, myself too, where phones didn't really have an impact. And, I didn't get my first cell phone until I think grade 11. But imagine how different it is now for kids in high school and the accessibility, right? And then you can just correlate it to a locker room.
Yeah, crazy. I always wonder about the teachers. Like, how do those guys handle the phones in, say, a high school? It must just be insane, buzzing and ringing,
Yeah.
and kids looking down and hiding it. And I don't even know how they handle that. But it is kind of cool. We're in a locker room. That thing's away. Like, when you're in that building, I don't even know what time it is. I don't know anything. Like, the only time that matters is that countdown on the clock, where you go out at the 16-minute mark for warm up, and you got to line up at 2.5 and blah blah blah. All those things matter. But as far as reality outside world, not really there. But it's kind of a good point. You could sit there on Tinder in the intermission and hit up a selfie in your stall. That'd be a nice little icebreaker for after the game. But I imagine you'd be in some shit if you do that, and you
Yeah.
get caught. Like, that's not Johnny T would be on your case in a hurry. I know that. Hey.
Oh, 1000%. Don't get any ideas if you're watching this. I can just picture you like foiling your hands like 15 minutes before warm-ups, just ready to go. I don't think you'd be on your phone, Rosie.
Colton Orr, he gets the Vaseline going under here, and then a little tough skin on the knuckles once in a while. I was like, fuck, is that old school, buddy?
We're going to get Orzie on this show sooner rather than later, and I can't wait because you guys hooked up. You guys fought in the league, no? And then you were teammates.
Yeah, we were teammates first. We were roommates on the road too, and so we knew each other good.
Sick.
He was good to me. And then one of my first game, it was my first game in Philly. I fought Orzie. We just away we went. It was it just happens, man. But we had a good chat about it afterwards. It's all good.
We're going to have Orzie on, and we're going to play the fight, and you guys are going to break it down for us. But that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll talk tomorrow, okay, bud?
Right on, man.
All right.